So some few days back, I was having a discussion with a friend, and from Luke chapter 1, verse 5 to 7. And the key things in these verses have been on my mind since then. And I wanted to share the insights I received with you all. So I'm reading the verses and then we'll take it from there. So Luke chapter 1 from verse 5, Luke chapter 1, verse 5 to verse 7. Sorry. So in the days of Herod, king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah of the division of Abijah, and he had a wife from the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth, and they were both righteous before God, walking blamelessly in all the commandments and statutes of the Lord. But they had no child because Elizabeth was barren, and both were advanced in years. Let's take a minute to digest these verses that I've read out to you. Funny enough, this is not the first time I've read this verse. This is the second time I've read this verse. This is what I said. I've been reading the verses. I was just there, and then I think the person sent me a message on WhatsApp, just gave me the verses to read it and then tell him what I think about the verse. And then since then, I started having a conversation or a discussion with the person about it. Even afterwards, we had a phone call and we were still discussing it, because as we were talking, we were both receiving new things from these two verses. Or yes, these is it two verses? These three verses. Sorry. Now let me say these three key things, or is it four key things? So we have Zechariah being a priest, the priest of God, who led the people. He was a priest who led the people, right? Now, he and his wife were both righteous before God. So aside him being a priest, because I'm saying this because we have people who are priests or ministers of God and they are not righteous. Their lives are nothing to write home about. Today, I'm not going to go there, so that is it. But they were both righteous before God and also walked blamelessly in all the commandments and statutes of the Lord. So whatever thing that the Lord had commanded, that okay, as an Israelite, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, they blamelessly walked in each one of them. However, they had no child because Elizabeth was barren. And the thing to note here was that they were advanced in years. Now, their ages were not mentioned, so we can't really pinpoint and say, but the Bible has stated clearly that they were advanced in years, meaning they were old. Probably not too old, but then they were old. So since I saw these verses, I started discussing with a person. Whenever I meet if one or two people, I preach these verses to them and I ask them, what do you think about these verses? Because in our days, you are a pastor or you are a church worker, a church leader, a minister of God who actually prays for people, you intercede for people. Before your very eyes, God is working miracles, signs and wonders in their lives. They are receiving their breakthroughs. They are receiving their blessings, their answers. But your case is different. And it's not like you are living in sin. You are living righteously before God. You are walking blamelessly before God. You are obeying his commandments, his statutes. All that God requires of you and I to do as children of God, as sons of God, as Christians, you are doing it. So I've been asking people, if it was you, what would you have done? So I'm asking you, if you were the one in their shoes, what would you have done? It's not easy. I'm sure, because I asked someone, the person was like, of course, if it was her, she understands the seasons and times of God. She understands, God has plans and things, so she will understand. But then, of course, she would ask God why. Because it's not easy. Seeing it with your eyes, blessing people and everything, and then you yourself, you are suffering a certain predicament. But God is faithful. God is faithful. I know that the end of it, of course, God blessed them with John, right? But I'm just these three verses where is what I want to dwell on. That they were right before God. But that one thing that of course, once you get married, you are looking for the fruit of the womb. Once you get married, you want to have children of your own. So of course they wanted a child or children or whatever, but they didn't get it because Elizabeth was barren. It's not easy. But you see, you see, you see, verse 6, and they were both righteous before God, even in all these things, even in these circumstances. That is the takeaway, that even in that situation, you will still remain faithful to God. You will still be righteous. You won't say to yourself or to God that because God has not done this for you, because you've waited on God for how many years or for how long and you're still not getting your answers, so you're going to go elsewhere, you're going to do something, you're going to taint yourself. Because the Bible says, okay, that it's difficult for someone who has tasted of God to and later, goes back into the world or into sin to now come back. It's difficult for that person. It's difficult. It's possible, but it's difficult. So I just came here to probably encourage you. Look at the lives of priest Zechariah and his wife Elizabeth. They were advanced in years. I don't know when they got married. So that time that that their case was mentioned, how long it took. They still didn't have a child, but they, regardless of this circumstance or this situation, they still remained faithful to God. They still walked righteously, blamelessly before God. Can it be said of you and I that we will do same or that we are doing the same? Think about it.